We end up in loops where we think bad thoughts, we complain about the problems we have. And what happens? Those bad thoughts, they create more negative energy, which in turn makes us think more negative thoughts. So where do we end up? We end up in a loop where we're constantly complaining, thinking negative thoughts, and feeling bad. But it doesn't have to be that way. Because you can change this if you become aware of the loop that you're in and you start changing it. This is easier said than done, obviously, but it's more than possible. What I've found is that it's way easier once you become aware of it, because normally we just go through our day-to-day lives, and what happens? We know that we feel bad, but we don't know why. Or we think we know why. It's because of that meeting, it's because of the boss, it's because of the coworker, it's because of the the car that's broken down, it's the bills we have to pay, all these issues we have, all of these daily issues. But it's not. Because in reality, you could have the exact same situation, but just by thinking different thoughts about them, just by looking at them differently, what would happen? It would feel exciting. It would feel like a challenge. It would feel even good. You know? It doesn't have to feel the way that it's always felt. But it will if you keep thinking the same thoughts that you've been thinking for years on end. Because normally, we don't change them. We just accept that things are the way they are, and it might feel like shit, but we don't really do much about it, do we? But once you become aware that you're actually capable of changing it, once you know that you can, then it's way easier to do so, isn't it? Because when you know that it's all in my head, the way that I feel is because of the way that I think, then how do I need to think in order to feel differently? Well, you're probably gonna have to stop complaining about the things that you've been complaining about. You're probably gonna have to change your perspective on the things that you've been feeling negative about. And again, this isn't easy. I'm not saying it is. I'm not perfect myself, but I'm actively trying to change myself to think more positive thoughts, because life just becomes better when you do. There's no better way to explain it than that. But when you think positive thoughts, and even something as simple as the "isn't it wonderful" technique, just looking at the same situation, but instead of like, this is annoying, this is like that type of energy, you look at it and you go, "Isn't it wonderful?" Boom. It just instantly feels better. It just instantly feels lighter. You're not stressed. You're not anxious. You're accepting the way that things are, but you're also realizing that it's way better than it actually seems. Do you get what I mean? And I still think that the "isn't it wonderful" technique can be applied to almost anything. Well, literally anything. Anything that's negative, just ask, "Isn't it wonderful?" The answer is always yes. As long as you have an open mind, you will always find something positive in any situation. You may not see it right now, and it's not easy to spot it at first glance, but it's there. If you just believe that it is, you will find it. If you just believe that it's more wonderful than it actually is, It will be. It will become that. It might not be this very second, but maybe tomorrow, maybe the next hour, you'll start to see that, okay, that negative thing that happened, my car breaking down, made me meet this amazing mechanic who taught me so much about my car. And maybe the promotion you didn't get, okay, maybe I wasn't meant for that position. Maybe I was meant for something else. Maybe I got another job opportunity that I wouldn't have accepted otherwise. That then gives you more pay, that then gives you better colleagues. You know, you might not see it right now, because right now it might seem like shit. But further down the line, it always becomes wonderful if you believe it will. And that's the biggest trick in life, is that you just have to believe that it will always be better. But when you're stuck in these loops of negativity, of doubt, insecurity, of feeling like everything is working against you, guess what? It will. You're the one who decides whether the world works against you or works with you. Because I could be sitting here and I could be like, no, like, I'm not getting any views, I'm not getting yada yada, and like, just my thought pattern of thinking those thoughts is going to make my energy so much lower, so much worse, that when I record this video, you're not gonna wanna watch it. It's gonna seem like shit because my energy is that way, and I attract more things that match my energy. Whereas if I just know that my videos are performing better than they should, then my energy instantly raises. It becomes better. I become more magnetic. And you're gonna want to watch this video more than if I was mopey and down and negative, right? You always, like, you know that friend or that coworker who's like, every time that you talk to them, you sort of feel like you're more tired after talking to them than you were before, right? You know that person. You like instinctively know. You don't understand why. You can't really put a finger on it. But you can always feel that their energy is so much lower than your own that you go down to meet their level instead of pulling them up to yours. Because we always have a tendency of moving down in energy and not up. Because moving up is way harder. Actively being more positive and raising your, like, frequency, let's call it, is way harder than lowering it. It's always easier to go down a hill than to go up it, right? And so when you're in those thought loops, those patterns that you've been in forever, and you're down here, it's not easy to see that, okay, you have to climb the mountain in order to see past the hill, you know? But on the other side of that hill, you might have an amazing opportunity. You might have whatever it is that you want to have. But you have to climb the hill first, because you can't see what's on the other side from the valley, right? So our thoughts are like Newton's law, you know? An object that is in motion tends to stay in motion. That it takes energy to change your state. And it's easier to move from a high state to a low state than from a low state to a high state. Like, it's always easier to brake a car, like slow it down, not brake it, either way, than to accelerate it, making it go faster. That requires more energy. And it's the same with your thoughts. When you're in a low state, it takes so much more energy to move into a higher state than it does to slow it down and move into a more negative state. Because that's where we naturally tend to go. So you have to actively make a choice to change something about the way that you think in order to break out of that loop and start climbing that mountain, going up that hill, raising your energy, raising your frequency, becoming more positive. So it's not going to be easy. It's going to require energy. But once you're there, it's so much easier to keep it. It's so much easier to see the good things in life. And once you're up there, you'll also start to realize that things have a tendency of working out your way. When you think that they're not working out your way, they don't. But when you think that they do, they also do. So just try walking upwards. Try walking up the hill instead of going down it and see what happens. And break out of those thought loops that I know you've been in for far too long. Thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you in the next one.